Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
It was Disraeli who once said the amount of misinformation and fake news on social media is truly staggering. Or maybe it was Gladstone. Or Lincoln, he had a way with words and was never off the Gettysburg. Anyway, who has time to check these things? Not us. So here's our public misinformation film for tonight's Spotlight.
People of Great Britain, please remain in your armchairs and pay close attention to the This Week public information broadcast on misinformation. Serena Williams may have been patient zero, but she isn't the world number one.
The world's number one player from Romania, Serena.
Oops, a hasty retreat from Serena Williams before the actual world number one made her entrance.
Fiona Bruce was confident that the Tories were in pole position. Another victim of the misinformation epidemic.
Just as a point of information, currently we're kind of, in the polls overall, we're kind of level pegging. We went
6 points behind.
You're behind, Diane.
Yeah, but we went into the last general election.
Academics told us that this stone circle was ancient. But the 90s weren't that long ago.
My heart goes out to you, Neil. Not the greatest mistake to make.
Well, these types of stone circles, there's a huge amount of variation in them. We were contacted by a former landowner who said that he'd built it very well, I have to say.
Donald Tusk told David Cameron to get real over stupid referendum.
He told me that there's no risk of referendum because his coalition partner, the Liberals, would block this idea of referendum. But then, surprisingly, he won, and there was no coalition partner.
Martin Lewis knows the symptoms when he sees them.
Would you support an extension? The answer, two answers, yes or no. Would you be willing for an extension if you can't find another solution?
We are working towards the 29th of March, and I'm providing the certainty for saying that.
But are we too late to help this patient?
I didn't say anything about Turkey in the referendum. I didn't say anything about. I didn't say anything about Turkey.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Be vigilant. Check facts. Don't let those fake news Johnnies pull the wool over your eyes.
They don't make them like that anymore. Anyway, someone who's very well informed is Matt Ford. Welcome back. He joins us now.
Pleasure.
Matt, is misinformation and fake news the same thing?
They're part of the same problem, which is that people deliberately lie and put that into the mainstream, and then people are prepared to amplify it. And I think that's the big problem is that the reality of why these things are such a problem is we are willing ourselves to believe things about our opponents without ever really checking up on the facts of it. And with social media, these things can just spread immensely quickly. But I think people don't even share a lot of the articles that they retweet or that they share. They see the headline, they see that it's anti-Corbyn or it's anti-Brexit or whatever it is, and they immediately push it out there because they think, great, I want to get this out there as quickly as possible, and facts are just inconvenient speed bumps that may or may not happen along the way.
I mean, we're in a strange situation at the moment with new technology because it does give us the opportunity to be better informed than ever. You can get your hand on data that years ago, when I was at university, you had to go to the library, you had to wait for things to be sent. There used to be the old newspaper library
these days.
up in Collingwood. You know, today you can get, I mean, I found preparing for interviews, you can get proper information very quickly. And yet at the same time, there's more misinformation than ever out there as well.
I think it's two crucial things happening is, one, you have more malign influence. And we're not just talking about sort of tabloid stories of old. We're talking about foreign actors intervening in our democracy, like Russia more than any other, deliberately spreading misinformation, and a section of the public more than willing, if they think it helps their argument, to spread it, even though, if you really ask them, they'd probably say they agreed it was false. And this is, I think, the new phenomenon that is not just the Mail and the Sun and the sort of cut and thrust of tabloid-style news that sometimes rode very close to untruth and sometimes was lies. This is now almost a concerted attack on truth itself.
But even the much maligned mainstream media.
The MSM.
The MSM, which, by the way, latest opinion polls show people are now coming back to because they've had enough of a lot of the nonsense and that they do trust it more. But we're at our most vulnerable when we report something without checking it enough because it's something we want to believe.
That's right.
So we saw this in America with the New York Times, the Washington Post, this confrontation between the young man with the Trump-type hat on and the Native American. They ran that. It put the young man in a very bad light. Turns out, as the New York Times and others have had to admit, most of what they originally reported wasn't true. But they'd run into because they wanted to believe it. We're always at our most vulnerable.
We're always susceptible.
And that's when we're guilty of misinformation too.
But that's why it's the best thing you can do, I think, is I deliberately follow people that I disagree with. So I follow James Denning-Pole, and I follow a lot of Brexiteers
So do I.
because I think it's actually really healthy. Because otherwise, you can't complain about echo chambers while you're in one. Like you do have to listen to alternative voices, and this is I cover a lot of this in a tour that I'm doing at the moment. That starts on Monday.
Starts on Monday. Where?
Some ticket at the.
You got the plug in early. We don't. We normally wait to the end for the plug.
The other Palace Theatre in London. It starts on Monday. And this is a big theme of it. Is misinformation.
My old editor of The Economist, Alistair Burnett, he once said, opinions are cheap. Anybody can have an opinion. Facts are expensive. Checking things out, gathering the facts, going somewhere, establishing it, getting other sources. And we've kind of lost that, I think.
Well, anybody can call themselves a journalist and online or elsewhere create something that has the sort of appearance of a news publication, when in reality, you know, it could be anyone. I mean, just to give an example, going back to one of Matt's points about how people don't actually open up the links that they then share. The far-right groups are very clever at this. So, for example, they will do a tweet or a Facebook thing which talks about helping our soldiers. And, of course, lots of people want to help veterans. People then just share the link.
And they have no idea what the real thing is.
Racist stuff in it.
It's quite hard, I would suggest, Sam, these days, sometimes to spot misinformation.
You're absolutely right. I think the big thing is there is no clear distinction now between fact and opinion. And even where there are facts, there are no shared facts. You know, we had, you know, is it Kellyanne Conway who said there are alternative facts. And that makes...
She meant facts that suited her case.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very
Even if sometimes they weren't facts.
But it's a bit like statistics as well,
any
how
kind of
you use
meaningful
those, isn't it?
debate, you know, in a world where there are no shared facts that you can even check.
But that's why the BBC is really important, isn't it? And it's such a... I'm going to sound so old-fashioned now, even at 36, but thank God for the BBC. This isn't a popular view, but it really worries me when I see every single side of the political spectrum now attacking the BBC. And I'm a passionate Remainer. I'm a classic Labour person, and I cannot believe that some of the people on my side are talking about the BBC in the way that they are, because even though the BBC makes mistakes, and it's admitted to one tonight, and it's right that it admits to mistakes when it makes them, there is something more fundamental that the BBC provides than any other broadcaster, any other media outlet in this country. Well, and if you denigrate the BBC, that is part of an attack on truth.
Well, we've had a plug for your tour and a plug for the BBC.
Well, there you go.
I think we'll quit while
slaughtered on Twitter.
We'll quit while we're ahead. Matt, thank you. Good luck with the tour.